Okay, let's get started, because this is our final session of the 2 days here at IMPA London 2025. Really, this is an opportunity for us to say thank you to everybody for joining us this year. Thank you to our speakers, to our sponsors, our exhibitors, and everyone really. And maybe just to have a few minutes to finish up the event with a sort of reflection on the takeaways that we might have from this year's event. A couple of the panelists here that will introduce themselves in a moment asked me earlier, what were the questions? And I said, well, I haven't got any questions. They're going to come from the audience, so nothing's really prepared here. But if you want to, if there's anything you picked up on, maybe in the last couple of days, that you wanted to put to the panel, we can talk about that. The other thing is that we on behalf of a new procurement council, IMPA made a statement last week, made an announcement supporting a new global marine procurement council. And I'm going to ask Paolo in a few minutes to explain what that's all about and the ideas that are coming from there. So that'll be an opportunity to tell you about something new that's happening. Right, so I'm now going to move to this, yeah? Okay, so ready? Everyone got their headphones on? Okay, so let's start with what I just mentioned there, Paolo. Could you make a little announcement about the Global Marine Procurement Council?
Thank you, Steve. So the Global Maritime Procurement Council is a free association of the top procurement leaders from various shipping companies, ship owners, and ship managers, which has decided to come together, and it's being formed as we speak as a group which is going to try to develop innovation, transformation, education, harmonization in the maritime procurement supply chain space. So it's something we started from North Shipping. Some of us met across a beer or a dinner, and we started discussing about the opportunity and the option for us to come together. If you think about it, this is IMPA, it's the International Maritime Procurement Association, but in reality this is a buyers event. It's buyers, and we procurement people, we are attending to this event as visitors. We're seeing the suppliers, we're talking with the suppliers, but we don't talk each other. So we came from this and said, why don't we start sitting together? How can we contribute by exchanging information, by exchanging good practice, by creating standards, by discussing about how we can help our organization in procurement, best practices, systems, interfaces, and how can we then help also the suppliers community in making the exchange and the life easier. That's what it's all about. It's very important. This is not a purchasing alliance. We are not going to discuss pricing. We are not going to discuss contracts. We are regulated by a very heavy antitrust compliance regulation. We will simply discuss about the processes among ourselves. You have seen on the press release a number of members which has joined this group. Jesper is one of them. It's myself, fleet management and others that you will see listed. There are some more which are in the process of joining. It will be, we hope this will be transformational for the industry. It will try to keep the audience informed about the processes. Today we had our first official meeting. We have been discussing a number of work streams that we want to address. The process will be the council will be finding subjects to be discussed, to be turned into work streams. The work stream will turn into work groups. The workshop will be manned by council members, but will also involve the audience. We will involve suppliers, industry experts to come on board and to discuss the specific subjects. We have two work groups which have been launched this morning. One will be chaired by Alex Drew from Fleet Ship Management and will be around education. Where do we source the procurement managers, the category managers, the purchasing managers of the future? How do we make sure the maritime industry is bringing in the best talent which are coming out of the universities? And how do we make sure there are proper education programs to get these people fast, rapidly up to the proper level? This will be also benefit for the suppliers, because to have professionals on the other side is also making business easier. The other work stream is a bit vague, is a bit big. It will be chaired by me. It will be around digital transformation, IT interfaces, procurement platform, procurement ERPs. How do we make the digitalization really impact into this business? How do we keep the pace of the Industry 4.0, the automotive, the industries around, which are much more advanced than maritime on the digital side? Again, there will be work groups. We will involve suppliers. We will involve IT related experts. So it's going to be an inclusive process, and then the council will report back to the audience through IMPA, which is providing us administrative support for these events. So it's going to be a large group, and it's likely to help and provide value to the maritime supply industry and the supply chain in general.
I think that's a pretty comprehensive introduction, Paolo. In fact, you've answered the three questions I had. Just to pick up on the supplier involvement, though, because, I mean, you do imagine that with the working groups, there could be suppliers joining this to help contribute to the work streams.
Yeah, definitely. I think we are copying what we have been doing on the IMF initiative, which was, I think, very inclusive, very successful. We took the procure to pay and trying to analyze digitally how we could put the emission factors in it. And then we got suppliers like Nico, like Seven Seas. We got the procurement platforms. We got the purchasing ERPs. So we try to have few representatives for each and every part of the industry which is involved and affected by this process, to make sure that we could hear the voices, we could hear the objections, we could understand the issues. So we're trying to make sure that we are not just dictating processes and behaviors from the top without the right understanding on the shop floor. So bringing the expertise of all the parties involved is key to design processes which then can be accepted and can be deployed in the industry. Otherwise, we end up like being a regulatory body which is just dictating things without understanding how the processes really happen. So suppliers' involvement and experts' advice will be key, and it's really part of the DNA of the council to say somebody from the council will just organize, but then we'll get the expertise from the industry in order to make sure that we understand what we're talking about.
And if somebody in the audience wanted to get involved with this and contribute perhaps to one of the work streams or the initiatives, how would they go about that?
Well, I mean, we will have a communication coming from the IMPA on each and every work streams. There will be a person to be contacted. Otherwise, I mean, myself and yourself and your contacts are there. On the educational work stream, there will be a chair, which would be Alex from Fleet, Alex Drew. I will be on the digital, and in general for the council, you are going to be the contact. So ship owners, ship managers, and our suppliers on the specific are more than welcome to contact. Of course, we need to make a little bit of a selection to have the proper representation, but also to be able to manage these groups. We cannot have a group with 150 people trying to contribute, but there will be surveys, there will be ways to contribute to each of the work groups.
So, can we ask Jesper why you were motivated to join this group?
Yeah, I think Paula probably described it much better than I can, but I believe we need a group in shipping to take care of all the things we are all facing, like regulations and like CO2 monitoring and reduction and things like that. And I don't think there's any group today doing it. So that's the reason I joined.
Anybody in the audience have any questions about this? Any concerns about how it might impact you? Anybody want to say anything? Don will come round with the speaker. Just put your hand up at any point if you want to ask any questions. Anybody got anything? No? Okay, and oh, sorry, yeah.
I think I really like the mandate there, but what I'm looking for is that what kind of objectives you guys, or what sort of early achievements that y'all are planning to come up with maybe in the next 3 to 6 months through this council?
The two work streams will be having an agenda and a timeline, and depending from the type of subject and the type of deliverables that we will set up, the timeline will be set. For instance, when we're talking about the education, one of the ideas is to have a framework on the way to hire, educate, train people into the purchasing functions. What will be the standards? What will be the level of education? So that is likely to be a project which is going to be delivered in a let's say a short time span, allowing the fact that of course we have jobs. So we are going to meet probably every couple of months, and then that's the main council, and then the working group will meet probably once a month. So that the time that we're dedicating, because it's completely pro bono, I mean, we have allowances from our companies to dedicate sometimes to these groups, but we are not working full time. So it's unlikely that we're going to deliver things in a week time or in a month time. There will be some milestone sets and some deliveries, but on the other side, getting the external expertise is also key in order to make this process run faster. On the digital side, we are just at the beginning. We need to set the objectives. We need to understand the landscape and to see what we can do. The idea is if there are 100 different ways to do things today in a particular process, we will try to find the best way and then deliver a recommendation which will be the best practice. This is not a regulatory body. This is not dictating. It's just analyzing, thinking about, and then delivering a recommendation, advice, which can be followed or could be followed by the various parties. That's a little bit of the scope.
I think from my observation is that, this council will address some of those project areas and initiatives that haven't been looked at previously. So, for example, Alex is heading up the project around talent management and career development for for procurement managers and heads of procurement for the future. So this IMPA London, we launched the IMPA education program for junior level purchasers, which will be, almost an induction program for young people or new entrants, people coming from college that don't know the shipping industry. But what about a career path to get to the sort of point that the guys sitting on this GMPC council, this group, how do, if you're a couple of years in, how do you plot your career path to become senior level? So we're going to be looking at something like a framework that would set out what we think would be or what the council set out as a potential roadmap to develop your career. Something like that, which is a little bit softer in the agenda, you might say, has perhaps not been looked at before. So that could be something we could address fairly quickly, and then work with partners and external people to create a program for that. So I think it's got quite a wide agenda, I think it's fair to say, Paolo. And it's beyond the remit of IMPA, okay? That's why IMPA's supporting this, because it's going to stretch out a lot further. I mean, we're in the background, these guys drive it. We'll be communicating this through IMPA. Okay, any more questions on GMC? Okay, Sarish. Lovely couple of presentations over the last couple of days, Sarish. Thank you for that. Very happy to have you. Go.
Sure. No, I think this is something we have been dreaming of for a while, right? And Jesper knows we have some kind of a loose organization, not organization, I would say. We meet up for coffee, all the procurement professionals, and discuss issues, but now there's a formal structure around it, which is very welcome. My only question was, can we then also have chapters around, like Singapore chapter, Hong Kong chapter, because there are a lot of good talent also sitting there. And
you mean like Hell's Angels? They have chapters.
Yes, exactly. Something like that. Is there any plan around that?
Good question.
I mean, the group is forming, and we are probably victims of our own success, in the sense that the number of requests we're having from ship owners, ship managers to join the group is well beyond the expectation. So I would just ask you to be patient, and we need to organize the admin, we need to organize the group. We were originally thinking of a group of 12, 15 people thinking alike and sitting there over coffee and over beer to try to change the world. This is turning into something which is of a different dimension, so it will need to be organized. I think we always wanted to have a unique voice, so there will be a core council of people. I don't think we will get into chapter having local organization of the Singapore purchasers, the Dubai purchasers, and the West Europe purchasers sitting together, and then maybe starting discussing on different subjects and get into different solutions. Then you don't want an MTL standard for Singapore only, or I think it will be a nightmare for you. It will be a nightmare for the suppliers if we were actually disattending the original goal. The original goal is to have a united maritime procurement view to the supply chain world and try to help the supply chain to innovate and to progress. So, but all has to be seen. Let's see. Give us 6 months.
Don't go away, Sarish, because I think, unless there are any other questions, I think we'll move on to the programme and ask people for takeaways from the last couple of days, and you've been involved. So can we ask Jenny to give us her takeaways from the last couple of days? Have you had a good time?
Yes, absolutely. This time I had the chance to take one of my two lovely guys from the procurement department, Matthias and Mert. It's the first time for them to be here, and I'm really happy to see how they enjoyed the show, that they are getting the feedback from the supplier. It has a positive impact, I think, to the guys, because they're doing these daily operational business in the office, They are really the guys in the first row. They're doing the job. I'm as a team leader, I have only to supervise everything. But I'm really, really happy. Yeah, they got the positive feedback and also they can share their feedback to the supplier.
So do you think coming along to an event like this, helps them, with their learning and development
Yes.
and building
Yes.
relationships? I mean, it's all about people still, isn't it, this
It
business?
is. I had the chance 25 years ago with my boss at Ollendorf. I was new in the business. The first trip was to the IMPA. He put me on the booth of Dimash and said, okay, start talking. And I had no idea. And I had to talk.
Isn't he still there now?
Yes, last year he went to retirement. Now he is working for Dimash. He started as a ship chandler, was more than 30 years procurement and as a ship chandler, yes.
Great.
Whatever he makes him happy. But I think, and this is what I also said in one of the last MSD, it's always nice, I think, to meet people. And after 25 years, I think everybody knows me. No, you know the head of procurement from the other shipping companies. But it's important to all the leaders and head of procurement, send your purchaser to the events. Because they're really doing the job. And they also need the network. I know in the case of urgency, I know exactly whom I have to call. But this is the next generation, and it also makes my life easier if I know, my team exactly knows, I have an urgent case in Singapore, I know exactly, I can call Alex from Sinva, I can call RMS, I can call somebody from Fuji, whatever. And this is really what, for every manager, your life is getting more and more relaxed. You have less headache, trust your team, send them out to the events, really invest in your team.
Who are you going to call?
Yes.
What about Simon? You're on the supplier side, we might say. What about you? What would you take away from the last couple of days?
Yeah, so we're Inchcape, port agency, but also maritime services. So we kind of sit somewhere in the middle. We represent owners and managers in the ports, and we also have around 25,000 suppliers that we have for our business, but predominantly on behalf of our owners and managers. So this event is perfect for us because we kind of manage up and manage down. We've got clients who come and talk to us, but actually, for me personally, in a procurement role, this is fundamental in terms of knowing who else is out there. Who can we partner with that then supports our clients in the local locations? Because we can't be everywhere all of the time. We're only a team of 30 procurement people across the world in, I think, 260 offices we have. So we have to rely on really stringent procurement criteria, ethical criteria, etc. And we expect that from our suppliers as well. So this is just a really good opportunity to interact with people, talk to clients, but really talk to suppliers and see who's out there, and just have more, I suppose, more relaxed conversations that you could do over Teams and over email. So it's, and I think back to the education piece, this is great for European purchasers. And we discussed this in the council as well. Perhaps a way forward is actually to have some of these events in perhaps India or the Philippines and really contact the actual purchasers doing the day-to-day work. Because I think that is the bit we're missing. Jen's absolutely right. The purchase managers have the knowledge, but how do we then get that down to the next level? And there's such a high turnover of staff these days and purchasers coming in. I think the education program will help. I think the work Paolo and the team are doing will help as well. But actually having this network of owners, managers and suppliers at these kind of events where people can just walk around and learn and find out what different parts of a ship do is hugely important.
So we're talking about people and the importance of developing people, connecting with people, networking and so on. Going to the opposite side of things, we've had AI on the agenda for the last couple of days. Quite popular sessions around this run by Sarish. What was the takeaway around the AI debate, and how do you see that impacting, the current business landscape?
For me?
For all the panel, open to all the panel and the audience, of course.
I will start by saying my takeaways from this IMPA conference, because I think it's very positive that we are so many people, even on the second day, And I believe yesterday was record breaking.
Yes,
for,
thank you.
Yeah, so very good job. So that's one thing. Another thing is that I think the interaction between buyers and sellers has been very good and positive. And a lot of relationships are being built here. So that's also very positive. And to come back to IT and AI, as we all know, we are very slow in shipping, and I think it will take a couple of more years, but I think that things will change a lot during the next couple of years. Today we spend a lot of time on purchasing. We request for quotes, we get quotation, we compare, and so on. I think in a couple of years we will have a closer cooperation with fewer suppliers, and we will integrate IT-wise, and we will have prices on products, and a lot of things will go automatic. So I think that will be a big change from today.
It's like the match. Yeah, I think we discussed on the panel yesterday. It's the timeline is what is probably the big question mark, right? What is going to be 2 years or a little bit longer? It's I'm not that optimistic on the ability of this industry to take over change in a rapid way. But we will definitely need to follow the other industries in the consumer market, and we can see that change is coming rapidly. Is already in our day-to-day life. A lot of people have been talking about Amazon and maritime, and that is all connected to a number of things. That we need to find the right solution which are adapted to the peculiarities of this industry, and then we need to automate. I think it will be the main goal for the Procurement Council on the IT digitalization side is to make sure how do we bridge the gap? How do we make sure we bring digital solutions adapted to the maritime industry, fast implemented? That's AI or agents or sophisticated algorithms, in whichever way we want to call it, will be definitely helping a lot, because they will be fast improving the value. Today we're talking a lot about things which are quite difficult to visualize for people. So as Jesper is saying, I mean, visualizing things is already a great way of depicting what the future is. I mean, no more requests for quotation, automated orders, but then we need to be able to reproduce it in pilot environment to show people that actually the system works, the washing machines wash, or the whatever type of appliance we're putting in place is actually able to deliver. Because otherwise there is still this yes, but not until I see it proven, not until I see it available, and not until I'm able to see that doing that process need to be abandoned, and these other processes need to be taken over. But
Sarish, can I ask you, I mean, what was your takeaway from your session around the AI agenda, but also, is it a game changer for your business, your sector?
Absolutely, and I think I was discussing with Alex earlier yesterday. There's this event called DPW which happens in Amsterdam and New York. It's about procurement but technology. And if you stuff happening there, if you see there, there are automated negotiation bots. They're way ahead, like 2-3 years ahead of us, right? So I think if we don't do something now, I think we will be left far behind. So it's definitely a game changer. But I'll come back again to the talent management. So I think it's now important more than ever that we also train people properly, and also make it a little bit cool for people to come into maritime, because they all feel maritime is a very dry industry, right? I mean, I'm a product of IMPA as well, right? I was IMPA graduate 2010, so been a while. But it's very important, this training, and like what Jennifer mentioned, right? I think we need to send people for education, tell them that there's technology, it's not always just the transactional part of it. It's very important, I think, and love the work IMPA is doing on that.
Okay, good. From the audience, we got a question from the audience? Yeah, Alex. Of course. Perfect.
Okay, thanks. From the supplier side, I have to say fantastic objectives that you're having, and very good that you guys are coming together on the purchasing procurement platform. I hear AI, I hear education, and I suppose those are long-term objectives to be achieved. I also hear legislation, and coming from the other side of the globe, I realize on a daily basis that the legislation in Europe does not necessarily align with the legislation in Asia. The question that I would have, has the work group already defined some low-hanging fruit, some goals and objectives that are in a relatively short time implementable, so also the vendors can start to get ready for those objectives?
No, I mean, as you said, we had our first meeting this morning discussing the work stream and nominating the person which are in charge of the work stream. So they need to be able to go home, take a shower, sit in front of the desk, and then put down a plan. So the announcement is maybe a little bit too early, but we are definitely having the structure which is going to address the various work streams. What the results of this work stream and what the timeline of these results is going to be, it will depend a lot on the first engagement, on the external engagement, and the way we are going to take all those subjects. I mean, I think what is important today is to say, in the past years, I was sitting at your booth talking with you, and then Jesper was sitting at the opposite booth talking with the suppliers, and I was elbowing you and say, "Who's that guy?" "Oh, it's the guy from OSM." Okay, but we were not talking. Or sometimes we were talking in some of these events casually. We were always maybe saying, keep your card close, you don't talk with competitors. In the end, ship owners, ship managers are competing on their main task, which is managing ships or operating ships. But in procurement, if we remove the element of the pricing and we're very clear from an antitrust point of view, we're not going to talk pricing, we're not going to talk suppliers, but we have a lot to contribute and a lot to exchange for mutual benefit. So this is the news today. This is the big important point. With this philosophy and this attitude, we are going to take each and every of the issues, and we welcome the audience and the suppliers community to flag those issues. So if you see there is a particular issue which is affecting Singapore suppliers, and you believe that the council, from a procurement point of view, could help to resolve or to bring clarity to that issue, please flag it.
Yes,
and then we could say, yes, we're going to resolve it in 24 hours or 24 days or 24 years. I don't know.
I was gonna say to Alex, put the question back to him. Was there like a number one, burning issue, that you would want this council to look at? I mean, is there something particular? You mentioned regulation, but is there a hot potato you would say, look, can you sort this out? Or
to give you an example, the whole CO2 emission regulation that is very present in Europe is practically non-existent in Asia Pacific. Although we also see that it's coming, right? I also believe that the vendors at our side of the world are very conventional set of companies. They need some time to get out of their shelf and go into the renewed industry. But there are some elements that we could do faster than others. AI is probably going to be an expensive program for the ship supplier, especially for the smaller ones. And the implementation will take some time. But for example, the CO2 numbers on product would for the supplier be a much easier goal to achieve than AI, right? And on that side, maybe it's also for the suppliers to stick their heads together and to start exchange numbers for what the CO2 values are for certain products. Or it would be very helpful if there's a guideline that's going to be given from this work group on what the expectations are from the suppliers. We want to get ready. We want to align ourselves with the requirements from our customers, right? But not in every location in the world it would be equally easy to achieve.
Yeah, I think Alex, you're spot on, and I think we have built this group on the experience of the IMF Council, and the IMF Council on the emission factor has been exactly designed in that way. There are suppliers which are involved. The outcome of the IMF will be guidances customized for each role. Mr. Ship Supplier Purchasing Manager will receive a letter which is saying exactly what needs to be done from a purchasing ship supplier's point of view in terms of contacting the vendors, obtaining the information if the information are available. We have been looking also from the other angle, say, what if the information is not available? What if the local regulation is not putting the suppliers in a position, the sub-suppliers in a position to be willing to calculate? And we have built through the procurement and the digital part a process for which the emissions will be automatically calculated by the procurement platforms in case the emission is not available from the suppliers. So I think it's a perfect example of where the council, which was not formed yet, but was maybe there in spirit, has been trying exactly to address all of this issue. How do we make sure that suppliers' life, regardless of the country where they're sitting and regardless of the local regulation, can respond in a low resource, low cost way? How can we provide centralized solution which are going from a digital point of view? This is not AI. There will be an AI powered agent behind in the future, but this is not AI. This is simple mapping, requesting. It's subsidizing the information. So if the supplier doesn't have it, the procurement platform will put that information available. And how do we make sure that the buyers get 100% of what they want on day one? So as soon as we implement, and this will be next week, the final specification, there will be another piece of document which will be for the IT responsible of the ship supplier on saying what they need to do to their ERP in order to be able to receive this data and to transfer this data. So addressing individually each and every part of the process and providing proper guidelines, relieving the let's say the feeling of being into unknown territory and having to face huge cost or huge problems to resolve the issue. That's all there, I think, and we have proven with that initiative that the approach is really down to the details. We're not just sitting there and say there's a new regulation in Europe. We don't care whether this regulation is not in Australia, not in Singapore, not in America. You just need to do it. If you don't do it, you don't get the business. This is not the approach. Let's go down. Let's understand what the pains are. Let's understand what the issues are. Procurement is very conscious of the fact that any cost which is on the suppliers is going back to procurement. If you need to provide a 70 quotation instead of 3, you need to increase your resources. Your total cost per year is going to be higher. Your marginality has to grow in order to cover those costs. In the end, the screwdriver I'm purchasing from you is going to cost 1 cent more. So the shipping companies, the ship owners are paying for what we put on the supply chain, on the supplier side. We're very conscious of it. And one of the main objectives of the group and all the approaches that we've been taking until now is how do we make sure we remove whatever is not necessary? How do we make sure we create standards which are easier to be adopted? We create processes which are easier to be developed and deployed.
I think we've got a comment on this from Peter.
Yeah, it's more general feedback. First of all, congrats to the good figures. So it's just a testament of the good casual exchange that the stakeholders have here at IMPA and why we keep coming back for decades. And it's fantastic. And also, I would also say as a feedback, this new concept here to have the conference embedded and not separated from others on a different floor, which separates valuable time. We only have 1.5 days time to see everybody that we need to see. It was very good. Also, this audio quality is quite good. What I would like to suggest for next time, because we want to have more relevance, I think, and sometimes when we sit in panels, I feel this even somewhat condescending. I think we should have more people from the ground on the panels, and that would, in my view, include probably seafarers, sometimes also a superintendent, probably somebody from the IT department of a company. And if I may say, you're a wonderful exception. Diversity is also an important factor for us. I had a very boring male panel yesterday, not by content, but by diversity. So that's something that we can work on together, hopefully, as a suggestion.
Yeah, very good, very good. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Irshad. I'm from a maritime procurement innovation company. And what we're doing right now, Paolo touched on it a little bit, is to try and help the ships on its route to find the best, most optimal location for procurement, not only in terms of pricing, but also in terms of its deviation and so on. My question is to Paolo. Paolo, you mentioned you are heading the digital transformation group. And your objective is to provide best practices or guidelines. Does this apply to all stakeholders in terms of ship managers and vendors? Or is it like, for example, like a use case where you tell the vendors, buy from tier 1, tier 2 suppliers so they have more sustainable products or something of that nature? Just to try to understand what the objectives of the working group is.
Guidelines and recommendations are maybe semantics, but two very different things. So we are going to provide guidelines, best practice on each and every subject. So I don't think we are ever going to enter into the territory of recommending to buy from one supplier or from another supplier. That's clearly out of scope, and it will be a breach of our antitrust compliance. And we want to be very clear and make sure that we always maintain, in respect of the suppliers community, a neutral position. Okay, so we can define type of products, we can define characteristics, we can define emission factors, and then we can simply provide guidelines which are helping the purchasers from the buyer side to find the best solution which is adapted to them, but that will be always their decision on whether they're going to buy from one vendor or another. So from a digital point of view, of course, there are platforms we are simply going to describe and to find the best way and the best practice with the less effort possible, with the best results possible for ship suppliers and for buyers to engage and to interact in a digital way. How can we remove cost to serve? How can we help increase the number of transactions? How can we make sure we can reduce the time of transactions? Automatic quotation, automatic pricing, published inventories. I mean, all the things which are already reality in the consumer markets out there, which seems to us on our mobile phone normality, it's science fiction in procurement. So how do we bring, from a digital point of view, the relationship and the processes between procurement and buyers to a level which is adapted to the technology which is available today? That's probably going to be the first challenge. Then we're going to break it down into pieces in a very analytical way, and then we are going probably to resolve a problem at a time, right? Somebody told me, how do you eat an entire elephant today? And it was a bite at a time. That's a gentleman sitting nearby you, which gave me this fantastic quote today.
Okay. Right, we're drawing to a close here now. Anybody have any questions for the panel? Otherwise, I'm going to ask them to, just round off with any comments or points. So, Jenny.
Yes, regarding Peter's feedback that he would like to see more, or let's say, other faces, new faces on the stage, I'm absolutely agree. I'm really happy that I'm able to convince one of my marine purchaser that he will be on stage on the IMPA Athens. And this is what I really try to support my team, to convince them that they should sit here in IMPA Hamburg, IMPA London, IMPA Singapore. And this is what I also ask the other head of procurement, manager, really train your team, train your purchaser, support them, and bring them on the stage. And this is really, really important. And then you're also getting more interest from other purchaser to attend these presentations. Because they are all on the same level, and they have the feeling, and also to ask questions. I can tell from my team, if you would sit 4 or 5 marine purchaser, they would really raise up a lot of questions. But there is a kind of distance barrier to ask the top management any questions because they are afraid they look stupid. And this is really what I can support. Train your team, support it, and bring the marine purchaser or somebody from crew on the stage.
Love it. Simon, give us your closing remarks.
I'd wanted to build on the point that Alex made on CO2. Because it's much more than CO2, he's absolutely right, but I think we all need to focus on the wider ESG agenda in the coming years, from a buyer's side, but particularly from a supplier side. From what I see, having been on both sides of the table, and now I'm on the supplier side, I see so much work coming through. There's a constant focus on lowest cost in a lot of cases, but suppliers are increasingly being asked to quote in different systems as AI platforms come to fruition, but also asking more and more questions about ESG. I'm sure every supplier in this room has questionnaires every single week from their customers saying, we need you to fill this in. And my experience from our network is the majority of our suppliers are SMEs. They are small companies in individual ports who have not a clue about how to do this. And again, back to Alex's point, certain parts of the world this isn't known about, but of course the majority of ship owners or ship managers are in Europe where the legislation is relevant. So it doesn't matter where your supply base is, they have to comply because you have to comply. So I think the work IMPA are doing, and I'm sure the work Paolo and the team will do as well, is going to be hugely important because this education piece to warn suppliers what's coming, but also help them deal with it without increasing their cost, which in turn will go back to the buyers, is something that we all really need to focus on and perhaps in future events as well.
Excellent. Jesper, your closing remarks.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I don't know if I have anything clever to say, but I would like to say that it has been a pleasure being here in London yesterday and today and meeting so many purchase managers and purchasers and suppliers. And of course, I'm kind of part of IMPA, but I believe this IMPA London is one of the best event in procurement. Also because I believe it has the right size. There's around 100 suppliers, and it gives a possibility for all suppliers to engage with a lot of decision makers on the purchasing side. So I think IMPA, especially you, Stephen, of course, has done a very good job. Thank you for that.
That's very nice of you, Jesper. Thank you. But I would like to thank everybody in this audience, and of course everybody that is exhibiting, sponsoring, travelling the world to be here, walking an hour or more, perhaps from hotels that I know some of you done, bicycling, others. Thank you to the panel. Thank you to our presenters and panelists over the last couple of days. I think we've got a pretty big agenda for the future. I'd also like to say thank you to AJ. AJ is our AV guy in the background there, running this sound system. And thank you for your comments about the setup. We've got some ideas to be better next year. In fact, there was a comment earlier that we have to make purchasing cool. I think you said that, right? And that's good because that segues perfectly into our theme for next year's conference. Give you a the sneak preview for that here, because next year's conference theme will be rock and roll procurement. All right, something to think about. But for now, just want to say thank you all very, very much indeed. Thanks to everybody. Safe journeys home, and see you next year.